go. Welcome everybody here to the first race of the season for the FTF Grand National Series presented by Splash & Go. Race number 1, the Splash & Go graphics. Mark got loose 200 at the Daytona International Speedway. We are joining mid-race here, lap 20 on the board. So far we have been clean and green, had some technical issues, but Seth Cole alongside of Carlos Zimmerman bringing you tonight's event as we've still got 62 laps to go. And Carlos, so far these guys, they've been able to keep it together, but you know when we get closer to the midway point, it's all going to be out the window. We're going to see them 3 wide.
Absolutely, Seth. This is a track that is very prone to big wrecks. The 2.5-mile speedway of Daytona, and as you get further along in this race, it is definitely going to get more rowdy out there. So it's been green so far, but don't expect that to last very long.
And from the very start of the race, there's been a kind of an alliance going on between the 2 drivers that posted the first and second fastest qualifying laps during the pole day qualifying session. Eric Justice in the 31 and the 91 of Philip Kraus right behind him. The 2 of them have kind of lined up nose to tail, and neither one have really left each other, but at high side, they're starting to get some run there. The 94 of Justin Knobloch, he's got David Schildhaus behind him, and we've got them double wide about 8 rows deep.
Yeah, the outside line, the way Daytona has changed over the years, the outside line, you used to not be able to get good runs out there, but now you are. And I'm amazed how that outside line's been able to keep up here with the front, given that there's such a bigger train of cars on the inside line, but I guess that's due to the separation towards the back of the line, and now starting towards the middle here, as the 055 looks to be getting away from there on the inside line there from the 91 and the 10.
That's King Cook third on that inside line. And to your point, I think the outside line is holding because you got about 8 cars on the inside, 8 cars on the outside, and then maybe 2 car lanes back to that single file train of stragglers that are just kind of riding. They're not really giving a whole lot of draft to that inside line, so that's why that outside line is able to hold even with them, at least for the moment.
I don't know how you're going to be able to get around that 31 of Derek Justice. He is just so good in that Supra. And like you said earlier, Philip Kraus, he has not left his back bumper since nearly the start of this race. It's going to get very interesting. I think I see some smoke up there in 4. I don't know who that is.
Might have been a car possibly warping. One thing with iRacing is if a car disappears and they reappear, a little bit of a smoke screen pops up there, but apparently nothing to warrant a caution. And we're starting to now see that outside line really fade away. You saw Justin Knobloch down in front of King Cook. They've only got about 3 cars out there on that outside line trying to make it work. One of them is Schildhaus, I believe Joey Bailey out there, and Keith Sherman in the 15. They got some other guys behind them trying to catch up. I believe that's Tyler Claybaugh in the 42 trying to lead that second group up there, but it just looks like for the moment everybody's trying to get down to the inside line riding single file.
Yeah, I mean it's still fairly early on. I don't see a point in trying to get too rowdy at this point. I'm not sure if pit stops were going to be a factor in this, so we'll have to just see what happens. As that outside line's just gone.
Yeah, right now with it being 24 laps in the 81 scheduled laps, bring up a great point that some of these guys might have to look towards potentially green flag pit stops. And we saw during practice a lot of drivers testing out, trying to come to pit road under green flag conditions, and some drivers have different braking zones than others, so that could be very interesting.
It's interesting how the 20 and the 51, they, as a 2-car tandem, have been able to keep up here up front with the 31 and the 91, the 20 being Schildhaus and Joey Bailey right behind them. That's interesting, and that just shows you how good the draft here is at Daytona, and also it helps the idea that the inside line's a little bit disorganized at the moment, so that's very interesting. I just found that very interesting how Schildhaus and Bailey are able to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, we're not really seeing Kraus shoving the back bumper of the 31 ahead of him. Looks like Bailey and Schildhaus are a little bit better lined up nose to tail, so that might be why they're able to hold with the top 2 on the bottom, and then you got Justin Knobloch just kind of riding there in third. He hasn't really drifted up to the back of the 91, so not a tight draft on the bottom. To your point, though, the fact that 2 cars are able to utilize that outside line there and hold up there with 3 cars on the inside line, you gotta think that's something these drivers have in the back of their mind near the closing stages.
Ooh, that 91 nearly came up into the 51 there. Very close there at the end. I see a line trying to form on the outside. I see that's the 42, Tyler Claybaugh. He's 0-2 of Ryan Naraki. And then he also got the 18 of Alexander Russell. They're trying to get back up here and reform that outside line here as they head in down the back straight.
Yeah, that would put 5 cars on that outside line, and it'd be interesting to see if any of these other guys back behind them decide to jump up there as well. Got a whole bunch of cars riding in line on that inside. I'm looking at maybe the 25 of Chad Michaels, maybe the 77 of Noah Valerio, Dylan Schwalt, and Matt Kemp back there. If they jump up there, that outside line could certainly start moving forward, especially with what we've seen out of the drivers up towards the front, the 20 and the 51, being able to hold that top side and hold their ground against Derek Justice and Philip Kraus on the bottom. Looks like those 3 you mentioned, they're going to draft up to the bumper of those top 2 on the top side. We may have an outside line here, allowing Schildhouse to try and challenge for the lead.
Schildhouse, he's had a good car so far tonight. He's statistically so far a little bit quicker than the 31 of Derek Justice. It's very interesting given that Justice has had that inside line for a good amount of portion of this race as we're a third of the way through. It just seems both lines are pretty disorganized because there's just a little bit of gaps in there. But Schildhouse and the outside line seem to be forming well. Talking about the 18 just a moment ago, Russell, he seems to have lost the draft there on the outside of Naraki and the 42.
As this battling is going on here at the front, we drop back here, and you can see these are some of the guys that are at the very tail end of the lead pack. Mike Fallon, the 55, Michael Frisch there in the 58. And you got the 84 there of Cosman. He ended up winning the I don't know how you pronounce it, the console race, they actually called it, earlier on here tonight. So you got to wonder if prior experience from that race just moments ago, if he's got something he could apply in this event. Looks like maybe he's got some kind of strategy in his back pocket and riding here towards the back.
And I'm looking ahead here through the leaderboard, and I'm thinking some guys are making pit stops, Seth.
Yes, they are. There's, I believe the 42 was on pit road. I believe Kraus was on pit road. Derek Justice as well. Joey Bailey is on as well.
This is the key thing here. Do not make mistakes in pit road. Don't speed. Don't slide through your pit box, just like Derek Justice did right there.
Somebody else did as well. I think it was the 91 of Kraus missed I think he went like 3 or 4 pit stops over where his stall was.
Goodness, that is a mistake you do not want to make at such a big track like Daytona. I don't understand how you miss your pit box by 3 or 4 spots.
And they've definitely broken up here towards the front now, and here come a whole bunch of others. Justin Noblock and a lot of drivers are coming in. Narwicki is in this group. Schildhouse is there. The 10 of Galinza is there, as well as Kane.
Schildhouse had to lock up the brakes there entering in to avoid getting caught for a speeding penalty, but that was very close. Your leader right now for the moment is Andrew Schwartz in the 67, his Ford Mustang at the front. That won't last for long, of course, as that's how it is here at Daytona. You saw earlier today in the NASCAR Xfinity Series that train of cars that were running up towards the front for a while, led by Alex LeBay for the longest time. So yeah, the cycle will happen eventually.
The good news for him right now, he's able to get a little bit of draft off the 32 and the 30 just ahead of him there, killing the lead lap. So he was able to at least have some draft as he will now pit. But one thing I'd be worried about with Schwartz is he's got to hope he comes off pit road with a group of cars that maybe pitted a lap earlier.
Yeah, if you're pitting and then you exit back onto the track and you have nobody with you, you're pretty much, well, what we like to call a sitting duck. So, whoa, someone got loose coming up there on the back straightaway. I couldn't quite tell who that was. That might have been the 29, but man, he got really loose coming out of the back straightaway onto the racing surface.
You're looking right here at what could potentially be the battle. Oh, we got a spinner! That's the 29 you were just talking about. No caution. And now it comes
And there
out.
it is.
That was on the apron of turn 4. 29 of Reynolds going around. And we're having some issues with the server, so it's tough to be able to pinpoint that car.
I saw the 39 of Arnold Columbia around as well.
Columbia caught up in this. There's the 39. He actually might have been the one I saw go around. Actually, I thought it was the 29, but I believe it was that Adam Petty throwback. That was the car I saw out of shape on the apron of turn 4.
He's got a hefty amount of right rear damage.
Go back and see if we can find out what happened to him. Oh yeah, it was a checkup. They were practically 4 wide. I think it's going to start with the 25 of Chad Mikas. As I believe, I don't know if he got a little help or if he went around himself, but he is definitely what was the cause of this.
I think what happened was he's considerably lower on that inside line, right up by the yellow. He may have gotten help from the 40. I don't know.
And they see right there, I think maybe Columbia got some help from Keith Sherman. Michael Frisch in the 58, you can see also spinning on the apron, got collected up in that. Actually, with where that was on the track, we're really lucky more drivers weren't involved.
It's impressive that there were only 3 cars involved in that, but I think going back to Mikos, I think originally he got loose on the apron, caught the apron a little bit, and then he got help from the 40 that eventually would send him around the 40, trying to find his name here, Dylan Alt.
It was really hard to tell if, I don't think that Alt was close enough for netcode, but I mean, the 25 looked like he got out of shape in a way where he would need to have help for that to happen. It was really strange. So, nonetheless, that brings out the first caution here on lap 32. And the ironic thing was, this was right after a round of green flag pit stops. And what I was going to mention with this caution coming out, it looks like everybody's going to come down pit road, top off again, is, you know, we don't know for certain what the fuel window is for these guys. With them coming to pit road between laps 29 to 30, was that when the fuel window opened to make it the rest of the way, or was that as far as they could go on fuel?
Yeah, the thing with this is that's very tough as they're all topping off, as you said. It looks like Trey Patton's going to be the one to come out as the leader, but yeah, around lap 29-30, you do the math, you'd think they'd have to come in again at about lap 60, but now that a lot of these drivers have topped off here on lap 33, I'm expecting them to come down at lap 63 or so, barring any cautions towards the late end of this race. Lap 60 to lap 63, that is going to be your final round of pit stops should this stay green during that time. It's just everyone at that point should be good to go, depending on how strategies play out.
Well, in that round of pit stops, Joey Bailey, who was up inside the top 5 when the pit stops began, must have had a pit road miscue or something. He fell a lap down. He's your lucky dog, so he's going to be lining up 37th, last car on the lead lap. So a good break for him. A couple of other guys that were up near the front that are running towards the back that weren't collected up in that I'm assuming had some pit road issues would be the 42 of Tyler Claybaugh. He's going to be restarting back around the 36th position. So we definitely saw, as we also saw a lot of drivers overshoot their pit stalls there. Pit road, if we end up seeing another round of green flag pit stops here before the conclusion of this race, certainly could come into play as to who's going to win and who isn't.
I'm very curious to see how, when we get back to green here, how Trey Patton's going to do it. I know we just had a round of green flag pit stops. I know it looks like Patton's coming.
Yes, he is, and that's going to turn the race lead over to the 27 of Franklin Ash. He's going to stay out, so I believe he is the only driver under this caution that did not come to pit road.
That would be correct, as Kane Cook's going to line up behind him. Justin Knobloch third. Knobloch, excuse me. I was thinking of Chad Knobloch from the Yankees days. Anyway, fourth, Dylan Schwallenberg. Fifth, Blake Reynolds. Alt, Mercurio, Naraki, Sherman, and O'Leary round out the top 10 as it should stand before we get back to green.
And a couple of guys that we saw riding at the tail end of the pack just before that caution are now up there in 12th and 13th, Mike Fallon and Cosmin Asno. I mean, is it go time for these guys now since they're up inside the top 15, or do you think they're going to do the ride-around strategy again?
If I'm them, I ride around a bit. You know, we're not even to the halfway point yet. We will be in about 5 or so laps, but I'd ride around for a little bit of while. But here's the tip, though. Don't ride around for too long, because if this gets stretched into another green flag run, you're going to be in trouble in terms of like maybe being able to stay up with the lead pack. But with everyone gathered back together and only maybe about 2 or 3 cars with damage, everyone should be close together, barring those that decide to drop back and just play it safe.
Of the drivers that were involved in that incident, I believe all of them are still on the lead lap. Columbia has gotten repairs done to his race car. Same for Frisch. Actually, no, I believe Frisch has lost a lap. Columbia is still on the lead lap, though, as is the 25 of Chad Micas. David Shieldhouse is currently scored 2 laps down in 39th, and I'm not certain he might have actually taken his car behind the wall. And that's one of the guys we saw making that outside line work just before that caution.
Very surprising. I'm not sure what happened with him. I don't know if it could be a mechanical failure or something we just did not document. Yeah, it's showing him 3 laps down now, so I guess something happened to him. Only a few cars back there that are out of the race, guys like Melillo and Stewart. So we still got a pretty sizable field to take the green, as we got the one to go as the pace car lights are off.
I'm a little confused about Justin Melillo in the 53 as well, because I actually saw him making a round of green flag pit stops. He was one of the first drivers actually on pit lane when the cycle began. So I don't know if it was a case of drivers having pit stops going wrong. They realized they were going to lose laps, having to come and pit under green, and so they decided to just park it. I don't know what the situation is, but nonetheless, that's going to be interesting now with them all lined up again, double wide, to see if we're going to actually see an outside line form, or are we going to see them all try and get back into single file formation, because they were getting racy just before those pit stops began.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting how this plays out. Like I said, with Daytona, it's a very wide open track. I'm very curious to how these guys are going to work with Franklin Ash now here at the front. I think that outside line might be the line that gets the run here on the start, heading down into turn 1, as I believe the rest of the field is starting to catch up those that decided to pit on the one to go. And this is going to be an exciting restart.
So if we look in terms of tires and fuel, Franklin Ash has 5 laps more on his tires. And of course, he's probably going to be about maybe 2 laps shorter on fuel than everybody else, who all came down and at least topped off the fuel tank. He's going to have just the no block following him on the inside. Outside line, it's Kane Cook hoping for a push from Dylan Schwallenberg. Green flags back in the air on lap 36.
And my prediction is instantly wrong, as it's the inside line that gets the jump. It didn't really help that Kane Cook just said, I want the inside line, and it's now going to be Schwallenberg working the outside line with help from the 0-2 of Ryan Naraki.
I've seen in some series where they actually will not allow that outside line car to duck down to the bottom before the start-finish line, so interesting to see if that is a legal thing that King Cook did right there. Looks like, at least for the moment, it is legal, so we should bear that in mind in the closing stages of this race, as now it's Dylan Schwallenberg trying to head the outside line. He's got Ryan Naraki pushing him.
Interesting how to see if Ash is able to hold off that outside line. Everyone else behind him is either on 5 laps newer tires or 4 laps newer tires. Some even that topped off there at the end towards the mid-pack. So Ash with the draft should be okay. But watch out for Schwallenberg, as draft race right there at the line to lead that lap.
Yeah, I think Ash just barely got Schwallenberg at the line, but it was close. And right now, it looks like momentum is on the top side. That's Schwallenberg, Milwaukee. You got Bronson Stafford up on that top side as well. They are trying to make that outside line work. I believe that's all 3 Toyota Supras on the top side as well.
That would be correct. The 16 of Schwallenberg, the 61 of Stafford, and then a guy we haven't talked about at all, Michael Krzyzewski, was third in that outside line and is now 4th. Very interesting as the Toyota representation up here at the front early on.
Yeah, you got Kaczynski, and then you've got Lazinski there in the 32 as well. And let's not forget, they were actually trapped almost a lap down at one point during those green flag pit stops. They were running just ahead of then leader Andrew Schwartz before he came to pit lane. So that caution came out very timely for them.
I thought Schwallenberg was going to get a really good run there into turn 1 and 2, but it looks like the 27, he's got the good push from the 055 and Kane Cook. So it's seemingly so far that once you enter turn 1, the high line seems to get a run, but as you're going through the corner, that inside line kicks in, and I think it's the same for 3 and 4, but I think the outside line may get a little bit better of a run off of corner. So that's interesting. We'll have to see how that plays out as the run gets further along.
Well, right now the 0-2 looks steady from 3 and 4, but over in 1 and 2 earlier, he was going up and down there from middle to high line like he couldn't hold the line. That's what was causing the outside line to kind of stall out, but now they're lined up. Schwallenberg, I think, could be clear going into 1, not quite.
Good attempt there by the number 16 Toyota Supra. That's gonna be fun to say.
Yes, indeed.
He tried to get a really good run there. It's just that out inside line just kicks in through those corners. And Seth, we're getting pretty close to halfway here as Schwallenberg's getting a bit of a run here in the 3. He still can't quite get down there.
He keeps thinking about it, but he can't quite get clear. And what a difference a caution makes. A guy that we saw up in front leading in the first few laps, the first 20-25 laps of this race, is now mired back in the 24th position. That's Derek Justice. Looks like for the moment he's kind of riding. He's actually got some rear end damage, I just noticed on the Baskin-Robbins Supra.
Taking a look here, yeah, he's got a big dent right there in the total rear of the car. I don't know if that's slowing him down aerodynamically or if he's just trying to lay back and let those guys get rowdy up there.
You know, it was really difficult to see with the pit boxes when they came down pit road, but remember, the 91 of Philip Kraus really overshot his pit box. I wonder if he ran in the back of Justice on pit road.
You gotta wonder if that was the case there with the 31 and the 91, but it looks like one car way up there trying to get 3 wide. Maybe a third line started. Definitely not going to work. Can't quite tell who that is, but that inside line that time got a better run off of 4. And through the tri-oval, the 55 and 16 got kind of close there as they came across the line.
You're going to see a lot more of that as we get closer to the end of this race. Drivers right now kind of giving each other a little bit more room than they would when we get down to 10 to go. Then you're really going to see them try and utilize the side draft, and they will give each other no room at all.
Absolutely not. That side draft, it's a concept that's become more of a thing lately in the years of NASCAR. And it looks like, the one car got shuffled out. That's the 5 of Cody Atkins. He gets shuffled out. He'll likely get sent to the back of this pack. Gotta be careful coming off these corners, though, when you're 3 wide.
Yeah, stuck up there on the top side. Joey Bailey going up the middle. He just got the free pass on the last and so far only caution. Tyler Claybaugh there in the 3 wide formation as well. Thought the 01 of Patton actually lead a lap and then come to pit road. He's now working his way back up into the top 15, currently scored in the 16th position. So a good run for him there. Is again that outside line. It's cooking. Schwallenberg trying to make something happen again.
I don't think right now that outside line is really back gathered well together. The 02 keeps peeking out of Naraki. Naraki just keeps peeking out, and that's killing any momentum that Schwallenberg has. And that's why Franklin Ash is able to maintain this lead.
Now, do you think even with Naraki having some difficulty there holding a line, do you think that maybe if Schwallenberg does try pinching down that 27, that maybe that will help the outside line start to get a pull?
He might have to utilize that side draft, and now all of a sudden the front 2 have been able to pull out in front of that outside line. I don't know if it's going to be, I thought for a second they were going to just pull up and take that outside line, but then you had to watch the third car in line, that being the 94 no It's dicey, but I mean, that point's null and void now as Schwallenberg's not being able to get back to the 27.
How about Cosman there in that 84, working his way up now into the top 10. He is in the 8th position.
He's a man on a mission right now. He has slowly crept his way on that inside line. He's got the help from Dylan Alt there, back there. Also a guy we haven't talked about back there. That's the I think that might be the 5 of Cody Aikens, and the 05 is the 5 Hendrick style number, that 05 of Matt Kemp. That is my mistake, but that's a guy we haven't talked about, Cody Aikens. He's working his way up too, but yeah, Cosman, he's going to be a factor down in the stretch. Just keep an eye on him. If he keeps his car clean, he'll be a factor.
Blake Reynolds have a little bit of an issue at 1.2. And we will see, I believe he's currently in the 7th position. And I believe, wasn't he one of the drivers that you said had an issue there just before that caution came out?
Yeah, he was, and it's interesting how I guess his team have bounced back from that issue, and there he is, creeping on the door of the top 5 as he has just moved his way into 6th for the moment, getting by Bronson Stafford.
Very impressive that Franklin Ash, with staying out, has been able to keep his car up front. The only thing I'd be a little bit worried about, we know that as opposed to everybody else, he's about 1 to 2 laps shorter on fuel. He's the guy that's cutting the wind for everybody on the inside line, which means he's the one using up more fuel out there in clean air. That'll probably drive him to pit road a little bit sooner than he would hope
to. We said about 31 laps is when you need to come in, and he's right now about 12 laps away from that window. So we're going to have to keep an eye on him. I likely think he'll be the only one to come down when the time comes, but you'd be surprised. Maybe others will go with him and maybe try to stretch this to the end, or maybe just get that strategy out there and be on the same strategy as Franklin Ash. But he's done, like you said, he's done a very good job maintaining that inside line, and we'll see if he can keep that up for a bit. Guy's getting a little squirrely there as the end of the turn.
Hollenberg going to edge ahead on that top side. And yeah, if you're the spotter and the crew chief of the 27, you are going up and down pit road, up and down the spotter stands, saying to some guys, hey, look, when we come to pit road, you guys will be in your fuel window as well to be able to make it the rest of the way. Come down with us so that way we're going to be leaving pit road with a group.
Absolutely. Like we mentioned earlier, you don't ever want to leave by yourself. At other tracks, like maybe a short track or a mile and a half, you can probably leave by yourself and get up to speed. Daytona, that's not the case. To how the draft works here, you are not able to leave by yourself and expect to be up to speed with everybody else, as we're now on board with Kane Cook.
And you can see right there on board with the 055 that even the car riding second in line there is dancing around. The car out in front is dancing around. So these drivers, they're literally floating around in these corners. I'm not sure how much in control they are of the cars as opposed to the cars being in control of them.
Absolutely not. I'm looking through here on the stats. It looks like Franklin Ash has one guy that's on the same strategy he is, and that's the 5 of Cody Aikens. So that's going to be interesting to look for going forward. But yeah, looking through the rest of this field, 5 laps earlier. Dylan Alt 7 laps earlier, and a lot of other guys as well. So Franklin, if I'm him, I'm hoping for a yellow, and I'm not involved in that yellow, and that way everybody just comes down instead of him maybe having to go by himself and maybe 1 or 2 other cars.
Ooh, look at there. That was the black 91. Philip Kraus maybe looking to go up the middle, trying to make a move on the 32 of Lazenski. Was unable to do it, but I was kind of trying to get an angle here to see the 91, see if he had any front-end damage, because I'm almost certain he might have been the one that got into the back of Derek Justice and gave him the rear-end damage that we saw, but at least from this angle, looks like the front of that machine is clean.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's something wrong with it. There's no discrepancies on his vehicle, so he looks to be okay. I mean, I'm looking back on the leaderboard right now. Derek Justice, he's not even on our screen anymore.
He is 26th right now. He's still in this pack. He, along with Chris Wetz, Alexander Russell, they are kind of hanging back there. The lap machine of David Schildhaus is back here as well. And every time that a car warps out and that smoke's there, I'm thinking, oh, the big one, but nope, not yet. Oh, and there is a big one! That was Ash the 27, the leader!
The 5 of Cody Aikens.
The car in the infield as well there, I believe.
There it is.
I believe that was James Millbackler in the 061 that was going through the grass.
Yeah, right when you said that, boom, a wreck. It looked. We're gonna have to look back at replay, but it looked like Franklin Ash was coming to the pits.
Was he coming to the pits, or did he get onto the double yellow line, perhaps? Because I've seen that happen a lot, where you get those left side tires down the double yellow line, it just spins your car around. We'll see.
Sure.
I was coming off of 4. See if we can get a better camera angle here. Find out what happened to him.
I don't know. You may be right that he got down on that double yellow line and it just turned him around, and then he got some help. But we'll see here as they come down. Yeah, there goes the 27.
Hard to tell if that might have been a little bit of neck code there, but I'm not sure.
Blake Reynolds almost missed the 27, but then got a little bit of front end damage when he hit him.
Yeah, unfortunately, when they spin, sometimes the car disappears. So we'll see if we can find out. Let's try and look from the 29 of Reynolds. We'll actually go with the chopper cam as well. Be able to see if we can find out just exactly what happened. Because it looked like it could have been a little bit of net code between Franklin Ash and Kane Cook, perhaps. See if this gives us a better idea.
Let's see here.
Yeah. I believe both the 16 and the 27 were blinking, and they were both leading the inside and outside lines.
Yeah, and then I mean, you can't really fault Kane for that because I mean that's just how with technology and how it goes. But it is what it is. I hope Franklin Ash doesn't try to put the blame on him. But looks like we got some pit stops happening here at lap 51.
Yep, the race leader now, after what just happened, Ryan Narwaki is going to lead the field down, and I wouldn't be surprised if everybody now, when they come off pit road, they're going to be clutching, because, correct me if I'm wrong, this puts us right on the cusp of our fuel window.
Yeah, our window is about 29 to 31 laps. We have 30 to go. That is very close if this thing goes all the way down, all the way green to the finish of this thing. And after all that, it looks like James Billbachler, we were talking about him. He was driving through the grass there to avoid the accident. It looks like he might be our leader here.
Yeah, he never spun. He went in the grass, but that car never went around, so he wasn't necessarily involved in the accident. He obviously had to make an evasive maneuver to avoid it. So he's going to stay out, get himself a bonus point at least for a lap led. And I'm not 100%... Huh?
You better bring that car down. There's a little bit of front end damage from him driving through that grass.
Yeah, tiny bit. I think what he's doing, he's getting that bonus point for lap led, probably knowing they're going to have to make repairs on that car anyway. He's going to have to start at the back, so why not get that bonus point for a lap led? And I believe, I'd have to double check, but I believe this caution puts the 20 of David Shieldhouse back on the lead lap. I think he's going to be the free pass car.
Believe so as well, and with Bachler bringing the car down, it's going to turn the lead over to Philip Kraus.
Car just ahead of Kraus that I believe, well, I thought was going to take the wave around.
Looks like he is. That's the 52.
And that would be Craig Hawkins. Yeah, he's going to take the wave around, it looks like, as he is between the race leader, Kraus, and the pace car.
Looks to be the case.
Don't know if we've gotten the one to green yet. I think we have. Oh, nope, not yet.
Not quite yet.
So the way they're going to line up here, we've got a couple of new names that have popped up into the top 10. Kraus is going to be the leader. Lazensky's going to be in second. That's the highest he's run today. Kane Cook going to be in third. John Poole the third. First time we've mentioned his name tonight. He's going to be restarting fourth. Justin Knobloch fifth. Schwallenberg will be sixth. Bronson Stafford in seventh. Zach Nichols appears in the top 10 for the first time. He's going to be eighth. Ryan Narwaki, who actually led everyone down pit road, he came out ninth, so I don't know what happened on that pit stop. And Tyler Claybaugh is going to line up inside the top 10.
Yeah, nice to see some fresh faces up here towards the top group. John Poole, the third being one of them. I guess he was just able to get around the field quicker during that wreck, and then also I guess he had a really good pit stop, or maybe pulled some strategy as well, as it looks like everyone on our list here pitted, except Arnold Columbia, way back in 21st, seems to still be on his old tires. But regardless, the 91 of Philip Kraus, he is going to be your leader when we get back to green here.
And with what we saw, yeah, granted he was involved in bringing out our last caution, but Franklin Ash did a pretty good job on older tires, keeping his car out in front. So some of these drivers we see popping up here in the top 10, like Poole and Nichols, you gotta wonder if maybe they might have gone with a fuel strategy only, maybe didn't take any tires, and that's why they gained as many spots as they did.
I'd have to agree with you. That's the thing that makes the most sense to me, and I believe we're going to get the one to green here. We got a couple cars dipping back into pits to top off the vehicles.
Very smart too. I mean, I would think that even without topping off, these drivers should be good to go on fuel now. We're going to be going back green with somewhere in the vicinity of 26, 27 laps to go. And I think you said, what, the fuel window's about 31 laps, so these guys should be good to go. The only thing I would worry about now, coming down pit road, topping off, you're going to be towards the rear of the field. If the big one happens, you don't want to be behind it.
No, absolutely not. The whole thing about trying to be, if you're up front, it's one of the more safer places to be in terms of the big one, unless you're the one that got turned around. If you're in the way back, sure, you get more time to avoid it, but with how these cars spin on the racetrack, you never know what'll happen. So there's the pros and cons with being up front and being towards the back. But the guys being towards the back right now, you got to think, we're closing in towards the tail end of this race here. We're going to take the green with about 26 laps to go. You got to think, do I have time to get to the front? And with how these guys have been racing up front, no one's been making very bold moves just yet. So you got to think about that as this comes down to the end of this thing.
Not only that, but there really hasn't been a clear defined line that has an advantage over the other. The inside line, the outside line on these last two restarts have really held with each other pretty well. Neither line's been able to get an advantage. So if you're back there around 14th, 15th, 16th, you're going nowhere fast. You maybe got to make a third line to start making some progress up to the front.
Yeah, that's the thing too. We'll have to see, Seth. This is going to be a very interesting restart here. Kraus is going to lead it with Lazinski, Cook, Poole, the third and no block. Here we go.
Green flag out with 27 laps to go. Question is it go time? And have we seen the big one strike yet? Something tells me no, the way that we've got so many cars still running and on the lead lap. Currently, with Shieldhouse getting the lucky dog, I believe we've got a total of 28 cars still on the lead lap.
And it looks like that inside line kicks in there. I don't think the 32 was able to keep up, or if he doesn't have a great pusher. We're talking about Poole maybe taking that fuel-only strategy, and that's probably why the outside line didn't kick in. But that happened on the last restart. And as soon as I say that, here comes the 32 back.
Seems like it's always a Supra up there trying to get that outside line going. It was Schwallenberg earlier, and now it is Lazinski in the 32 trying to lead the top side around the track here. Meanwhile, on the bottom, Philip Kraus, remember earlier on, he was dedicated to the back bumper of Derek Justice when they were running first and second. Justice now running way back there in the field. Currently, I believe he is around the 30th position, so nowhere up there for Kraus to be able to draft with. He's keeping it down that double yellow line.
The winner of one of the duels that happened earlier on, and it's a tough break for him having been riding in the back there. I don't know if that damage has hindered him very heavily or not. That's why he can't get back, or he doesn't have help. It's unfortunate to see that happen for him. Yeah, he's 2 laps down. That's a tough break for the 31.
Yeah, he's 2 laps down. There's actually quite a number of drivers that are multiple laps down. It's hard to tell if they're having internet connection issues or if they actually have taken their cars behind the wall. I see Justice currently on my ticker. Looks like he may be out. Mike Fallon, Gabe Herschel, PJ O'Leary, Dylan Smith, Bronson Stafford, who was actually up there towards the front not too long ago. Looks like he may be out of this race. So, obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes on the track that we aren't privy to of why these drivers have taken their cars behind the wall. Some things we may miss on the broadcast, but it's a shocker, especially to see drivers that we know early on were running so well, and all of a sudden we see them behind the wall.
A tough break for all those guys.
Oh, we got a spinner!
It's the 5, the 0-5.
That's, I believe, the 0-5 of Matt Kemp that went around. Caution waves for the 3rd time today. We had some others involved there. The 77, I believe, was in it. Gabe Herschel. Okay, Herschel is still in the race. So is Stafford. See, the problem is we got some internet connection issues, and these drivers aren't showing up on our grid, so we don't know if they're in the race or not in the race. Plus, the ticker shows them multiple laps down. But caution is out, and we definitely know who it started with. 0-5 of Matt Kemp. I believe the 77 was collected up in that, as well as the 0-7 possibly of Gabe Herschel. Let's go back and see what happened.
First car I saw around was the 05 of Matt Kemp in those Hendrick colors. We're gonna have to look back here and see what happened because that was just so sudden.
Definitely was. I mean, it was the same area too where we saw the 27 of Ash have an issue, and I have to wonder if it might have had something to do with possible connection issues or something. Oh yeah, Kyle Riley came down right across the track into the 05 of Matt Kemp.
Ooh, the 62 looked like he hit the wall hard.
Zach Nichols got collected up in that as well. We'll see if we can get a better angle of that. But yeah, that all started with the Outback Supra of Kyle Riley.
Getting a good look here. Yeah, you're right. It's had internet issues again. That was the problem. That's what sent the 5 around because I think we're going to see here.
The 62 on the outside line. Oh, wow.
Just turned left.
That looked an awful lot like what we had happen to Chad Mikas earlier.
Tell you what, that 62 took a heavy licking at the inside wall. Thank goodness for that safer barrier. But that might be enough to take him out of this thing. That car just turned dead left. I don't know if it was internet issues or something broke.
It looked eerily similar to what we saw have happen to the 25 when we had our first caution. So I don't know if there's something in like internet connection issues where if you lose connection for a brief moment, it turns the car to the left like that. But I mean, it looked like at that point in time, it looked like Riley was not even in control of his race car.
It's very unfortunate. He was hanging around up there near the top 10. All those guys were up near the top 10, possibly being up near the finish of this thing. But those things happen. Like these things happen in this sport. So tough break for all the guys involved, though.
I mean, I know whenever we come to Daytona or Talladega, everybody says, you know, it's a crapshoot. You could either be running up at the front or you could find yourself on the end of the hook. But I was kind of looking at Kyle Riley as maybe someone to watch here in the closing stages because back when this league was running some test racing at Daytona to see what they wanted to do here for this weekend, I'm pretty certain it was Kyle Riley who won that test race. So I was kind of thinking that maybe we'd see him up here at the front late. But to your point, that hit with the front end, that is the worst place to make contact with a car at a super speedway because that's not only going to hurt you in terms of RPMs, it's going to hurt you aerodynamically as well.
Absolutely, 100%. Looking up here at the front here, now you got to think about it. We're closing in on 20 to go. Did any of those guys make pit stops? It didn't look like they
No,
did.
I don't think so. There were a couple of drivers, I think, that did come to pit road. Derek Justice was one, Blake Reynolds, Mike Fallon, Chris Wetz, a couple of guys towards the back, but I believe the top 19 did not come to pit road under this caution.
Looks to be the case. Very surprising given how we were close on that fuel window, I guess. A lot of these teams are thinking they are good to go to the finish. It's very interesting. If I'm them, I would have at least maybe, if I'm any of them, I would have topped off and made 100% sure that I'm good to go to the finish of this race, and I could just race it out with these guys. But we'll see. It's going to be very close, Seth.
Well, we know that they can go at least 29 to 30 laps because that was around the time they came to pit road for that first round of pit stops. And with this caution and any other cautions we may get between now and the end of the race, they can maybe save some. So I don't know. With what we've seen, a lot of our wrecks, with maybe the exception of the 27 with our second caution, have happened mid-pack. So I don't think these guys want to give up that track position up at the front of the field to make absolutely sure they're going to be good on fuel when right now, if it's a kind of you're close, let's just go for it.
Yeah, it's just going to be a drawn-out fight here at the end of this one. When we come to the line here, I think we're going to get the one to go. We'll have 21 laps to go. We'll take the green with 20. If that's the case, waiting to see the pace car and the lights are off, we are going to go green with 20 to go.
So the way they're going to line up for this restart, Philip Kraus will have Lazinski on the outside line. Row 2 is where you find Kane Cook and John Poole III. Row 3, Justin Noblock, who I don't think he's been outside the top 5 all day long. He's going to line up alongside of Dylan Schwallenberg. The rest of the top 10 are going to be Tyler Claybaugh, Ryan Narwaki, Joey Bailey, who got the free pass a couple of yellows ago, and Michael Kushniski is going to complete your top 10.
Yeah. I mean, you're nailing this analysis down perfectly, so there's not much I can say otherwise to this, but I'm very excited for what's going to happen down here in these final 20 laps. That at any time you're at Daytona, that's when everything gets most rowdy, and then that breeds cautions. You know that old saying, cautions breed cautions. So I don't think we're done seeing those yet. Maybe these guys will still be a little cautious until we're inside 10 to go. But if I'm Philip Kraus, I'm in a great position right now, but you got Lazinski on the outside. I think that outside line's not going to get that good run as it does on starts. Although, then again, he does have a decent pushers back there. John Poole III, Dylan Schwallenberg, the 42 of Tyler Claybaugh's worked his way back in the top 10. That inside line looks pretty good, too. This is going to be a very good restart here, I think, for both lines.
I'm Kraus right now. I hug that double yellow line, but the question is, we've had 3 cautions. I think the most drivers involved in any of those yellows has been 4. So have we seen the big one yet, or is the big one going to happen here in these final 20 laps? Kraus and Lazinski, green flag back in the air, 20 to go at Daytona.
Big push from the 055 to the 91. He is really pushing the back bumper of the 91. Got to be careful not to bumper grab and maybe spin him. But man, he is glued to the back bumper of that 91 of Kraus.
Yes, he is. Locking the bumpers there, keeping the draft as tight as possible. Outside line has nothing for the inside line right now. First, second, third, they're all going to clear it. Look at Cook with a move to the top side.
I meant Cook there. Cook made a bold move, and I guess that's why he was pushing the 91. And now he's got a big help there from the outside. New leader, the 055 of Kane Cook.
Kane Cook and Justin Knobloch both moved from the inside to the outside, and they made it work to get around Philip Kraus for the lead. Knobloch now trying to get second. Oh, Knobloch's going for the lead. He's got a push there from Lazinski.
He got him at the line there, did the 94 of Knobloch instead of the 055 there. Very interesting. They are getting rowdy, though, towards the back a bit. They got to watch that as well. But look at this battle up front. But I think that inside line is a little bit more together. That's why the 055 is able to get back out in front.
And you can see as we get closer to the end of this race, the aggressiveness amps up. We were able to see daylight between the front and rear bumpers of the cars earlier. Not anymore. They are shoving each other down the straightaways up here at the front.
91 pushing the heck out of that 055. 32 of Lazinski trying to push the 94 of Knobloch back to the front. They're getting 2-3 wide towards the middle of the pack. Very exciting racing as the 91, I don't know what he was trying to do there. He was peeking for a second. But yeah, 3 wide back there, the 61, 55. There's Derek Justice. He's back up in this group. If he plays his cards right, he might be able to get back up there. Same with the 29 of Blake Reynolds. Getting squirrely there to the 40 of, who is that? The 40 of Dylan Auld. He was getting a little loose there through the corner.
Looked like he made an aggressive move from the inside to the outside line. You can see a little bit of desperation mid-pack here with the 3 wide. Some guys feeling, hey, we got to start making that third line if we're going to make any progress. We can't keep riding here side by side. As up front, that outside line is also starting to kick in. No block to the top side. He may get Kane Cook at the line. He will, at least for the moment. Left leg to the 94.
Whoa, 32 got out of the groove there, but he gets back in time just in front of the 21 of John Poole. Ooh, that was close. It looked like he was trying to go around the outside of the 94.
Caution!
Under yellow.
I believe it might have been Justice in the 31.
Oh, yeah, a bunch of cars back there, Seth.
A lot of drivers involved there. That is the 61 of Bronson Stafford, the 58 of Michael Frisch. We're looking at the 31 of Justice. And there were a couple of others collected up in this one as well. Try and document them all.
What's happened further up? I'm seeing a bunch of cars getting shifted around.
Hard to tell what's going on here. I don't know if it's a frozen field and everybody's trying to figure out where they're at.
That doesn't look like maybe nothing happened further up. Oh, now it's resetting. There we go.
Yeah. There was another car. I was trying to tell who it was. I want to say it was the 01 of Trey Patton that also may have gotten collected up in this, but I'm not certain. But the car that I saw on the telemetry, at least, that was dropping like a rock was the 31 of Justice. So I'm assuming this all might have started with him.
Go back and take a look here. Tough break for him. He got that issue on pit road. And it's just an unfortunate thing for him. And it looks like the sun is dropped down below the speedway. We're almost to get into the nighttime hours. But let's take a look here what happened.
3 wide, quite a number of rows deep, and couple of places where it happened. Keith Sherman got out of shape, and I believe the 061 just ahead of Justice also got out of shape.
Yeah.
2 different areas.
And I think in reaction to the cars getting sideways up front, everyone else started checking up and then just running into each other.
Sherman's car partially went up in the air. It didn't flip over, but he was up on top of another car for a moment there.
That's right. I saw him. He got a little bit of air there.
We can find out what happened to him. Some of that looked like it might have possibly been netcode. But again, it's really difficult to tell, especially at a super speedway where they're not willing to give each other a whole heck of a lot of room.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very tough to determine in these kind of situations.
There we go. I was trying to find the 15 on the interval.
Yeah,
Finally find him.
There he is.
See what happened to him. I believe Michael Frisch in the 58 was indeed involved in this. And we'll probably be able to tell a couple of other drivers that were collected up as well, because we were focused on the 31 of Justice, and there was a wreck that took place up ahead of him.
Waiting to see here what'll happen. I think we're coming up on it right now. So what happened up front there with the 15? Here we go.
We'll see what happened with Keith Sherman. 2 incidents happening at the exact same time.
Still got to go further back. Man, this was quite a bit ago. There we go.
Here it is. Think. Well, no, a little bit further back.
Nope. Gotta keep going.
This was back, okay, so had the whole issue of them trying to find their way through. Actually, we might have passed it. Try to see if we can find it here. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Trying to find out where the 15 was at. It's hard to be able to find him on the grid. Yeah, he had the whole front end taken off of his car as he did get up in the air. Here we go. All right, here's a look at it.
Trey.
Oh, it was Micah's again. 25 got down on the apron, came up into Trey Patton, who then got up into the 15 of Sherman.
The car that rode on Sherman for a minute, that was the 07 of Gabe Herschel. That's another car involved that we did not document. Yeah, Micah's again.
And that looked like about the exact same area where he got loose earlier. See if we can take a look here from Herschel's onboard. See what he saw when the 15 was up in the air.
On board here with Herschel. Get a nice view of what he saw.
And there you see Micah's on the apron.
And then hello.
Yikes. Herschel kept going. So the question is, how much damage did he sustain to the front end of that machine?
If I'm him, I'm very nervous as to having a car on top of you, especially at a super speedway like this. Still haven't gotten the 1 to go signal. We're on lap 68 of 81. We're closing in on the 10 to go here very shortly. I think when we will take the green with 12 laps to go if we get the 1 to green here.
So with that caution coming out, nobody came to pit road up here at the front again. Couple of drivers did dip to pit lane. Andrew Schwartz, Michael Frisch. They're going to be restarting back just outside of the top 20. As of right now, I believe we have 28. Actually, no, I believe we've got 26 cars currently on the lead lap. Actually, no, we might actually have, if the interval thing is like messing up here, I think we could actually have about 36 of these drivers on, or 34 of them, sorry, on the lead lap. Just gonna have to wait for it to update here. But Kane Cook is gonna line up on the inside of Justin Knobloch. We saw Knobloch working with Cook. The two of them got up there to the front. The two of them were battling with each other. Now they're side by side. And it looks like Knobloch's going to have to rely on Lazinski as his pusher. Kane Cook is going to have Philip Kraus as his wingman on this restart.
Well, Seth, since we came into this mid-race due to the technical issues at the top of the first 20 laps, who do you got with about 12 laps to go? Honestly, this is Daytona. It could be anybody. Who do you got? Who's been the most consistent guy here at the front, and who do you think is going to make it stick and come out with the W?
Well, the most consistent guy, that's easy. That's been Justin Knobloch, the 94. But I got to go with Kane Cook because, you know, he's got a car that's been able to stay up there at the front. He was one of the only drivers I saw be able to actually make a move around the outside for the lead. Granted, Knobloch followed him up there and he had someone pushing him, but we've had so many drivers trying that outside line and they have not been able to make up ground and clear that inside line. Kane Cook's been the only one to do it.
No, I have to agree with you. Kane Cook didn't pulled that maneuver off very well. I'm gonna go with someone who's not even on that front row right now. I'm liking Philip Kraus's chances. You're second in line. You got a really good chance here. There's still a lot of racing to happen. Could have cautions, but watch Philip Kraus here in that unsponsored 91 Toyota. Sorry, not Toyota. Yeah, Toyota Supra. Check it out here. We're green. 12 to go.
12 laps remaining. The caution still could be looming in these final 12 laps, as it looks like Cook's got Kraus right on his back bumper pushing him. Meanwhile, Lazinski, he is pushing Knobloch on the top side.
Good starts for both lines there. There's a guy right there, fourth on that inside line. We haven't talked about much tonight. Joey Bailey, he's going to be a factor here. Schwallenberg's still up there. Cosman, you mentioned earlier, it's a dogfight here at the front as to who's going to get up front. But right now, it's a dead heat between Kane Cook and Justin Knobloch.
And by the way, David Schildhouse, I think, did get the free pass on the caution before this last one. He is right now on the lead lap, currently in the 17th position. Have we seen the last of him? Maybe not. Knobloch edges ahead for a brief moment on the outside line. Cook battles back on the bottom.
Double wide, just about every row deep possible at this point as Kane Cook edges ahead just a little bit. Big push from the 91 of Philip Kraus.
Kraus trying to keep his Supra locked to the back bumper of the Ford Mustang of Kane Cook. Not sure if there's a difference between the back bumper and the front bumper of those two different manufacturers, if they're able to hook up that well. But right now, they're making it work. Third line forming up there on the top side. I believe that's Dylan Alton, the 40. He tucks back in line.
Taking a look here, you know how hard that 91's pushing Cook. There's got to be some white paint there on the front end of that 91. That's how hard he's pushing Cook right now as they'll come to the stripe. And we'll have 10 laps to go here at Daytona here in the FTF series.
Way up on the top side there was that... Oh, yes, yellow flag is out. Fifth caution of the day, and this one may have involved the 58, perhaps, of Frisch.
Maybe Trey Patton?
Actually, I think you're right. I think it was Trey Patton.
I don't know. It may have been just a single car spin, and if the car sat on the track, it didn't look like there was a lot of cars that were struggling to get up there.
Let's see. Maybe it wasn't Columbia.
Interesting.
Go back and see if we can figure out who it was.
Can't have debris cautions in this.
Nope. See if we can figure out who it was that brought out this yellow. Might have been somebody that maybe it disappeared. We're never gonna know.
Regardless, we're under yellow. Inside 10 to go.
Yep. See if I can pinpoint who it was that brought out this yellow flag here real quick without aimlessly looking.
Maybe Cody Aikens.
Could have been Cody Aikens in the 5 car. Let's check and see if that was the case. we can find what might have happened to him, if indeed it was him. Not sure. He might have. No, he was sitting on pit road, so it wasn't him.
Oh, looks like he's got a little bit of damage, and well, may have had that from a previous wreck.
It's difficult to tell who it was that actually brought that yellow flag out. I don't think it would have been for the 5 car.
Maybe not. May have just been a solo car spin. We didn't see it, and he was able to get it back going very quickly.
Well, whatever it was, if it was an incident, it probably took place towards the rear of the field. We're going to keep seeing if we can find it for you guys here before we go back green.
Cars just crossed the line again. We have 8 laps to go.
Let's see if we can pinpoint it for everybody here. We're also being told by our eye in the sky he couldn't find anything that may have brought out the yellow, so it is a bit of a mystery.
One of those phantom cautions, maybe. Couldn't have come at a worse time. We were having some really good racing at the front.
Definitely. Yeah, caution's out, and I do not see anybody back there that in any way looks like they had an issue. So I'm not certain what it was that brought out that yellow. 31 of Derek Justice is currently sitting on pit row, but we just looked back and he was not the reason for the caution. So, little bit of a mystery here at Daytona.
Right at the end, too.
So, regardless, we are going to be getting the green flag with less than 10 to go. $1 million question is, do they make it back to the white?
My answer in a simple word answer: no.
Yeah, I agree. The way they've been pushing up here at the front, I mean, give them credit. They have done a tremendous job of not wrecking each other, but sooner or later push is going to come to shove, and that's usually when mistakes are made. We've seen these cars have been dancing around, whether you're at the front, middle, or back of the pack. Sooner or later, there's going to be that one push too hard that's going to cause an incident, probably up close to the front of the field, and I still don't think we've seen the big one yet today at Daytona either.
Caution light's not out, so we're going to go at least one more time around. And it looks like, if I calculated correctly, we're going to go green at lap 77 of 81. That'll give us 5 to go in this opening race for FTF.
And if my ticker is showing correctly, Craig Hawkins in the 52 just went around for the free pass, which right now I believe would score us around 37 cars still in the lead lap. For 43 cars taking the green and 37 to still be on the lead lap, even though we've worked 5 cautions, that's pretty impressive.
That is very impressive, the workness of these teams to get these cars repaired and just to keep them out there. But to be on the lead lap, that's even something else to be able to do that. So this is going to be a very exciting. If I'm anybody in the top 10 right now, I'm licking my chops. I got a shot at this.
Now, let's look at some of these guys back there and the kind of up and down day they've had. If we look back around the 7th, 8th, 9th position, you got Joey Bailey. You mentioned him back in the last restart. He was a lap down, got the free pass, I believe was on the caution just after the green flag pit stops. He's up in 7th. Schwallenberg was trying to make the outside line work, had the car in front of him blink out, reappear. He lost a couple of spots, but he's still hanging there in 8th. You've got Cosman and Nosu there in 9th position. I mean, he's kind of been riding all day. And remember, he won the console race here earlier on tonight. So have we seen what that 84 can do yet? Or has he got something still in his back pocket?
There's a guy creeping up there. He's in 15th. David Shieldhouse. Slowly working his way up. He's running out of time. But he's slowly working his way up there, as we have got the one to go.
Like, the green flag will be coming out with a total of 5 laps to go. Can they make it at least 4 circuits around to receive the white. If they receive the white, they will race back to the checkers. If the caution comes out prior to that, I do believe this league runs green-white checkers, so we would go into overtime, which, let's not forget, these guys are out there on 24, some 25 lap old tires. Yeah, some of them came down and topped off, a lot of them didn't. Were they planning for possible overtime cautions?
You know, you got to take that into account. I'm looking through our leaderboard here. The guy who has the freshest tires near the top 10 is not even in the top 10. He's 11th, and that's the one of Dylan Smith. And I just took a look at Shieldhouse again. He's on 44-lap-old tires.
He may have actually taken a wave around perhaps there on one of those cautions.
Just pushing it to the limit. I don't know. He might run out of fuel for all we know. But yeah, you got to take that into account. The pit window, 30 laps or so. And even though they haven't pitted lately, those tires have got to be just worn down enough to where you're feeling loose. But at this point in the race, it's all out. You're 5 laps away from winning, potentially winning the race. This is going to be a very exciting start with Cook and No Block leading the way.
5 laps to go. It's the time of the race we dub the never lift time. Keep your foot in the throttle, keep your eyes out the windshield, and maybe you'll be the one to see the checkered flag. It's Cook and No Block side by side. Green flags out. 5 to go at Daytona.
It's go time. See what's going to happen here. The 0:55.94. Good starts for both lines again.
Looked like Cook kind of backed up there to Kraus to allow him to be able to push him into turn 1. Meanwhile, Lazinski, he's hooked to the back bumper of the 94, and the yellow is out.
If I remember correctly, field is frozen.
Yes, it is.
Just like that, we can't even make it one turn, and there's a yellow.
This one was Chad Mikas, along with the 71 of Wetz. Chris Wetz.
And Mikas has not had a good night.
Almost wonder if it might have been the 25 getting loose again. It's happened twice tonight. 07 of Gabe Herschel may have been involved. We'll wait and see.
We'll see.
Like we got where the incident happened and then they blinked out, so we may not get to see all of what happened. Oh, there was a stack up.
Quite a bit of cars here.
See this? I think it starts with Herschel.
This is on the restart, too.
Yes, it is. Watch that 07. Oh, he moves up. A little clip there from the 44 of Nichols. Mikas gets spun down to the inside, and they were still wrecking further back. We're going to have to go back and see what happened there. But then, after the car reappears, we saw Mikas and Chris Wetz side by side and wrecked on the apron of, I believe that was over in the entrance of turn 2. There they are. Yeah, there's Wetz in the 71. Go back and see what happened to him, because I think he was caught up in the ladder effect of that stack up.
Very interesting to see how that played out. Yeah, like I said, not a good night for Chad Mikas. Now this is his 3rd wreck involved, and this might be the one that takes him out of it. But a tough break for that kid. He's definitely got the talent. It just wasn't his night, and Daytona takes no prisoners.
Absolutely. Oh, well, it's hard to be able to pinpoint the 71. He wasn't actually showing up there. Okay, let's see if we can try again with the 25 and see if we can find it. All right, so this was coming to the green. And we'll see if now it'll actually let us pinpoint the 71. No, it still won't. Well, let's go with Herschel then, I guess. All right, so we'll follow Herschel here in the 07. Yep. There's Mikas, and there they are further back. That was, I think that was the 71 and the 77, yep.
Yeah, all those guys, they were getting all together. I think just the chain reaction from responding to the wreck, that was up ahead of them. So tough break for all those guys here at the tail end of this race. Leaders just came around, and they got 3 laps to go on the board. Depending on what the pace car's doing right now, we could be going to overtime.
I would think that we will be going to overtime with the timing of that yellow. Should make a note that I believe despite the contact we saw there, Nichols was really the one that got away unscathed. He was the one that made the contact with the 07, but he's going to be restarting up in the 18th position.
That'll be interesting to look at. I'm looking at that leaderboard. Shieldhouse just keeps creeping up that board. He's in 12th.
And every time that a caution comes out and he picks up spots, that helps him, actually. Now, as you mentioned, time is slowly running out. Not sure he'll be able to get up to the front, but you get them all wadded up, maybe have them stall out a little bit on the start. Shieldhouse picks up a couple more positions, and he's close to cracking the top 10.
Or we could have something happen like happened a few years back in the it was called the Nationwide Series. The whole front of the field wrecks on the last lap. Who comes skating through? James Buescher.
Yep.
So you got to think that. You got to take that into account. And yes, we are going to be looking at overtime here as the pace car lights are still on and the lap counter is extending. So we will have a period of overtime. And like Seth said, you have 2 laps to do it. I believe it's is it 3 attempts at it or unlimited attempts?
That I'm not certain. I am not certain if they have unlimited attempts or not. But going back to your point about, that Shieldhouse may still have a shot and, could pull what James Buescher did back in the Nationwide Series, people thinking, no, that's crazy. That's not going to happen. Remember I mentioned that they had a test race here? Well, in that test race, the big one happened coming out of turn 4. It started with the leader. Kyle Riley, who went on to win that race, was one of, I think, only 3 drivers who got through that big one. So if it can happen in a test race with no points on the line, it could definitely happen here in the first race of the season where points definitely are on the line.
Our picks are still hanging around there, 2nd and 3rd right now. This is going to be the interesting thing here. No Block is the leader. So Kane Cook has to move to the outside. He's not going to have his pusher unless No Block chooses the outside.
Not really sure he's going to want to choose that outside line. I mean, yes, he has had Lazinski up there on the top side pushing him, but again, they haven't made a whole lot of ground. I mean, the timing of that yellow, the 94, was just barely ahead of the 055. That's why he's the race leader. I think he's got to take that bottom line, and if that's the case, that means that both No Block and Kane Cook are going to have entirely different dancing partners than what they've had in the last 2 restarts.
Pace car lights are out. We have the 1 to go signal. We're going to go back green with 2 to go. Lap 82, if we go green and clean to the finish, which I highly doubt, will be 1 over the limit.
These guys have to make it at least back to the white flag. If they make it back to the white, next flag ends the race. But if they wreck and the caution comes out before the flagman has the white flag waving, we may have another attempt. And yeah, I don't know how many attempts at a green-white checkered we have. It may be 1, it may be, unlimited. But we're going to have to wait and see which is the case, as the driver is going to be Justin No Block. He is going to be the control car, and I'll bet he's going to have his hand out the window, giving the signal for when he wants Philip Kraus to push him.
This is the time now where you do not want to spin the tires. Last 2 restarts have been really good from both the front cars. But now that they're flipped, one moves to the outside, the other moves to the inside. Let's see how this goes. And yeah, like you said, look at No Block. He's going to be waving that hand frantically for Kraus to be like, come on, push me, push me. And then another interesting point here, too. The 32 gets to stay on the outside, but look at that. John Poole's now on the inside line. Don't count him out yet, as he'll be 5th on this restart.
Poole's on the inside. As a matter of fact, a lot of drivers kind of shuffled the lanes they were in from the last 2 restarts. Schwallenberg's down that inside line as well now, 4th in the inside line. So we'll see what happens here.
We have lost Kane Cook.
And he's back. That's not something you want to have happen here with 2 laps to go. Green-white checkered at Daytona. Will they get back to the white flag?
Poole did not get quite a good start there compared to the front 2. Oh, this is going to be very interesting coming down in the 1. A big pack of cars here for the tail end as Cook's got the edge going into 1.
So if you're Kraus right now, I mean, is there a way you can make a move, or are you basically right now committed to pushing that 94? Right now, he is pushing him out to the front. He's got him clear of the high side. Now can he get himself clear and maybe make it mano-a-mano at the front between the 94 and the 91?
Third line coming up on the outside, the 0-2.
Narwaki and Bailey trying to make a third lane. Nobody goes up there with him. 94 is loose, and it's the big one! Fieldhouse is involved. Luzinski is involved. That's a lot of them. Cosman's in it. Poole is in it.
Let's see. The 40, he's in it. That's Dylan Alt.
There's a car going backwards past our camera there. That's Mike Fallon.
Don't blame him, but oh my goodness. Yeah, that was everybody.
Wow.
So, what we said...
They did not make it back to the white. Let's point that out.
Yes, we did not. So what we thought would happen on the final lap happens a lap before that. So it's not really good for everybody involved. But out of that, Kane Cook leaves unscathed, and he's your leader.
A couple of other drivers I saw that might have been involved in this. Alexander Russell, also Franklin Ash, and let's see what happened. We saw it live. Maybe a little bit of a push. It was Dylan Alt, Dylan Smith, Tyler Claybaugh, Blake Reynolds was in it.
Gosh, that was just everybody.
There's Adkins there. And there's a lot of drivers back there that got front end damage, a lot of hoods missing. It's kind of tough to identify all of them.
I think we're better off pointing out who didn't get involved.
You know, you may be right. See if we can find out here more drivers that got collected up in it. We're going to look here at the 20th Shieldhouse as he tried to get through it, nowhere to go. 41 of, I think that was Mercurio got involved.
Looking at Shieldhouse, he's got a good front end damage, but he's 7th on our leaderboard right now.
Dylan Alt got a lot of damage. And I believe one driver that did get through this, well, nope. I thought maybe Derek Justice got through, but
I think he had to go down through the grass to try.
Yeah, actually, no, I think he got through it. It's hard to see him here. We'll bring it here where his car appears, but watch this. 31 goes down to the inside wall. Thank you very much. I'll take all those spots.
Got by everybody, and he's 12th.
Joey Bailey there, Michael Frisch. And there's the 27 of Franklin Ash.
He was up front earlier.
Boy, a lot of torn up cars here, and so now...
That was in upwards of at least 20 cars.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the track just got blocked up, too. One of the most terrible places to have a wreck is in the corner, because you never know where those cars are going to go. Are they going to go up to the wall? Are they going to go down to the apron? And at that point in time, you can't lift. It's the closing stages of the race. You got to keep your foot in it and hope that a hole opens up.
And it goes back to your earlier point. Push is going to come to shove, and, well, Kraus gave the 94 a shove. Just did not work out at all and turned him around and took out about 20 other guys with him.
Now look at this up here at the front. The top 4, it looks like they are pretty well unscathed. You got Kane Cook, you got Narwaki, you've got Schwallenberg, and you got Claybaugh. I think Claybaugh might have gotten a little piece, but hoodless, you've got the 5th place car of Michael Kuszczynski. Blake Reynolds hoodless running there in 6th. We know Shieldhouse got a piece of the wreck. He's 7th. Joey Bailey was in the wreck. He's 8th. Michael Frisch, he was in the wreck. He's 9th. And Franklin Ash was in the wreck. He's 10th. All these guys are not coming to pit road repairing their cars. They're staying out just trying to see if they can limp it home in the top 10.
Yeah, and then you got that front 4. This race now changes drastically. What it's been so far has been a very good train of cars. You got 4 cars up there that have no damage.
Yeah.
Everyone else behind them's got damage. It's going to come down to 2011 style Daytona 2-car tandems. Of course, don't push too hard like it was back then. The cars are different now. But this is going to be very interesting as to how this plays out with only 4 cars. And then maybe Shieldhouse, who has the least amount of damage out of anybody who has damage. This is going to be very interesting. I'm telling you, man, Shieldhouse. He is coming.
I'm trying to look back here, see if there's anybody that looks like they could be up to speed to get up here and maybe mix it up with these four. The only ones I'm seeing, possibly Matt Kemp in the 05. He's in 11th. His car looks relatively okay. Alexander Russell back in 15th. Bronson Stafford in 16th. But they've got so many damaged cars in between them and the top four. I don't know if they'd have enough time to get up there.
Yeah.
And we should also point out, too, we got another green-white checkered coming up. We're talking about these front four. They could be wrecked by the time we have our next caution, so it's not over yet.
No, I don't think we may not be done with that yet, but whew, my goodness, that big one, that was the big thing there, and with the amount of cars it took out, that's exactly why we only got 4 cars that got through it unscathed. And really, the 42, he got a piece of it. So really, the front 3 were the ones that avoided it, and that's just because they were in front of the wreck at the time.
So if we're talking about our top 4, we got 1 Mustang leading this race, 2 Supras lining up 2nd and 3rd, and then a Chevy in 4th. I mean, you got the Supras kitty cornered. They can't really hook up with each other, so unusual alliances here on this next green-white checker.
I think, barring another yellow before we get the white, it's going to come down here as who gets the best start here, and Kane Cook has been good about that all night long in that unsponsored 055. He's got a good pusher behind him in Dylan Schwallenberg. That top 2 of the 02 of Ryan Naraki and the 42 of Tyler Claiborne, I just don't know if they're going to be able to push very well, especially given that you got really not many really good reinforcements behind you 5th and 6th on back.
I mean, look at the
very interesting restart.
Look at the 5th place car of Michael Kuczynski. How do you push with that car? The interior of that machine is sticking out.
Looking like Richard Petty back in '92 at the season finale there.
Definitely. Lights are out atop the pace car. We've got another green-white checkered coming up. Now, I think if you're Schwallenberg or Claybaugh, your goal is to try and push the car in front of you out in front, come out of maybe turn 2 in 2nd place, so that way you're then able to make a move for the race lead, potentially the race win. But if they remain side by side, oh boy, this could get really interesting.
You're absolutely right. We're going to take it at lap 87. We're way over the limit at this point. Here we go. 2 laps to settle it, and the 30 spun the tires in.
Yes, he did. So too did the 29 of Blake Reynolds. It's mano-a-mano, 2-car tandems up at the front. Kane Cook and Schwallenberg, Narwaki and Claybaugh.
It's a matter of who's going to stick together closer, and so far that's the 055 and the 16.
Caution!
And the caution's out again. Dogging on it.
Another green-white checkered potentially here. They are slowing. It's frozen field, so it looks like we're wrecking up to do it again. They were wrecking over in turn 1. And
back there down in the grass.
That wasn't Russ. Was that Wetz perhaps in the 71? It was.
Top 4 stayed the same. As we're back up there yellow.
Chris Wetz bringing out this one. I think he had a couple of other guys involved with him. And we rack them up and we do it again. But boy, I mean, I think what we just saw there is what we're going to be seeing on these next couple of restarts. As here's what brought out the caution. 3 wide.
Is it the 25 again? No.
No, 58 of Michael Frisch hooked Cosman. Wetz goes through the grass and then he spins it. Kemp almost spun it out.
Good job missing him.
We'll give you guys an aerial view as well, as that'll give you a better idea. That was Frisch in the 58. Looked like he got into the left rear quarter panel of Cosman. And another big one. This one involved maybe upwards of 10 drivers.
Not as severe as that last one.
Look at Gabe Herschel down there below the double yellow line making some passes. Don't know if that's legal. And
I hate to use this term arrow loose, but I think that's what it was. I think.
You know, I almost wonder too the closing rate, because you mentioned how the 30 was so off the pace there on that restart. That's who Frisch was closing up on. And I think he was trying to get some room to go to the outside, and Cosman was there. Well, do it again.
Yep, let's do it again. third attempt. And I still haven't gotten word from our guy in the sky if we're gonna have if it is unlimited attempts.
So far, we are getting ready for our third overtime green-white checkered. Another thing that I think we should talk about here, yes, we've had these multiple yellows, but these guys have now been out there for 30 to 31 laps.
It's the window.
Yeah. How far can they go? How many more overtimes can they go before they finally have to pit?
Looking at it here, I'm just looking at an interesting thing to point out here too. Schwallenberg beat the 0-2 back to the was ahead of the 0-2 at the time of caution.
Yes.
So him and Kane Cook are gonna line up side by side. It's no longer pushing. They're gonna have the 0-2 and the 42 up here. Look who's up in fifth.
Wow. Franklin Ash, who wrecked from the lead, bringing out our second caution of the night.
We've been talking about Shieldhouse throughout this race. Let's take a look at Ash. He led, stayed out on a caution, our first caution of the day. And what's wrong with the 055?
I think he's taking the road course.
Yeah, I think he's just having some fun.
Yeah.
Just why not?
Just in case you folks wanted to know what the chicane looked like on the back straightaway for the 24 hours at Daytona. There you go.
There you go. Trying to have a little fun here. He's going to line up next to the pace car here. But yeah, lights are still on the pace car. I'm expecting the one to go here at the line.
Well, I talk about another couple of guys with some comebacks here. Bronson Stafford's been running near the back after getting involved in a couple of wrecks. He's up to 7th. Derek Justice got the free pass a few cautions ago. He is back up in 8th. Don't count him out just yet. And Jake Poulin makes his first appearance up in the top 10 all night long. He's in the 10th position. Does he have something in the closing stages?
Now I'm looking at Poulin, and I'm looking at Stafford and Justice too. They are on much fresher tires than the other guys. Granted, they have damage, but they are on much fresher tires than any of the top 6. So that's going to be interesting to look at.
You want to know just how big that last wreck was? Bronson Stafford had come to pit road on the last yellow. He's now up in 7th, only 3 laps on his tires. So that shows how many spots he picked up avoiding that wreck and how many drivers were involved in that one.
And the lights are still on the pace car. If you want to take a look back here at who's maybe out of the race at this point, I'm sure a good chunk of cars have just decided to pack it up and call it a night.
As of right now, according to my scoring, it's showing about 23 cars still on the lead lap. If we look back, Gabe Herschel is there. He's still running. Mike Fallon, I think, is still running.
Got word from our eye in the sky, unlimited green-white checkers.
Yes, indeed. There is Fallon. There's Schwartz still running. I believe Poole's on pit road.
These guys are in the pits.
Yeah, Chad Micah's coming back out. Philip Kraus still there. I believe right now he is the last car on the lead lap scored right now. There's PJ O'Leary. Trey Patton's on pit road. Atkins on pit road. Cosman's on pit road. So these guys might not be getting out there before this race gets back green. There goes O'Leary. He's 2 laps down.
There's Poole.
Poole's going back out. Poole's still on the lead lap. I think right now we've got about 27 cars.
27, yeah. With the last one being Mikos.
Yep.
And
They're doubled up. Here we go again. Now, this is interesting now because, you know, we got a couple of those guys that didn't get good restarts. Obviously, the 30 didn't get up to speed. The 29 was a little bit off the pace. Now it'll be interesting to see about guys like Ash, Stafford, Justice, Bailey. I mean, are they up to speed? Will they be able to hang with the top 4, or will it be a 2-car tandem breakaway again for the first 2 rows?
I'm looking at that 27, and he's only got rear damage. And maybe some cosmetic damage on the front end, but he might be able to stay up. I don't know. We'll have to see. 29's hoodless, so we know that's already an aerodynamic downfall.
All night long, the one constant up in these top 4 has been Kane Cook. Schwallenberg's been up there in the second half of the race, but it's really been Kane Cook who has stayed up front all night long. And so obviously he wants nothing less than a W, than a checkered flag. But his restart is in the hands of the 0-2 of Ryan Naraki behind him. Schwallenberg's got Claybaugh to push him on this restart. It's going to be a Toyota and a Ford down low, a Toyota and a Chevy up high.
Next Ford in line, that could be the friend to Cook. That's Ash. He's in 5th.
Have we seen the last of the pole sitter Derek Justice? He's going to line up 4th on that outside line. You mentioned unlimited green-white checkers. We still may not have seen our last caution of the night. We still may have more laps to run here. And the Mark got loose 200. We got a car coming to pit road. That's Ash in the 27. That could spell trouble for drivers if they're trying to make it on fuel.
Look at Stafford get around everybody on that inside. He looks to be up to speed.
Justice just made it 3 wide there going to the start-finish line to get around the 29 of Reynolds. He's now up into the 7th spot.
I think we're going to have more than 4 cars to finish out this one.
That's Justice up there. That's Jake Poulin up there. They're up to speed. They got a shot at this. As Cook edges ahead of Schwallenberg down the back straightaway. They're 3 wide, 4 wide down the back stretch mid-pack.
That's going to be dicey coming into 3. Got to watch out for that. Can we make it to the white?
Through 3, still green for the moment. Now Rocky pushing Cook. Then you got Stafford 3rd on the inside line. Claybaugh shifts to the bottom. Caution! They didn't make it.
Gosh,
They're wrecking up there in turn 3. Numerous cars.
Big one back there. Oh, we were so close.
So close. Believe that might have been that possibly, it was a red and white machine. Might have been Bailey. Yep, I think Joey Bailey got collected up in that one. Fieldhouse, I think, may have gotten involved in this one as well in the 20. My goodness.
Just
Go back and see what brought out this caution. This one, as Carlos pointed out, was up in turn 3, so close. And I think, just based on checking back here, I think a lot of this had to do with drivers down that inside line trying to let drivers by and drivers trying to pass. And I believe it starts.
I saw the 58. That was the first
Yep,
car I saw.
that was, you are correct. It was Frisch in the 58. Let's see what happens here. Got a couple of cars in the apron trying to let drivers by. Keith Sherman and Joey Bailey. And Frisch got a little help there from the 061 of Milbachler.
Oh, man.
Schwartz involved, nowhere to go.
05 almost had that missed. You know, while we keep talking about this, the more green-white checkers you got to do, I got to step away for just 1 second, so I will be right back.
All right, you are perfectly fine. We're actually going to go back and take an aerial view of this as well. And it was kind of hard to tell if I don't think Frisch came down and blocked. It looked to me more like 061 just tried to make a move that wasn't there. Well, I mean, he got to the inside. Frisch opened the door, and then there was nowhere to go. There you see the 29 of Blake Reynolds was collected. Shieldhouse was in it. There's Sherman and Schwartz on the outside line. And more cars with more damage. And still, we have not gotten to the white flag. We still have another green-white checkered. And now, even more than before, we now start to wonder, because remember, we had the 27 of Franklin Ash come to pit road when we went back green. That says to me he was coming to pit lane because he couldn't make it on fuel. Now some of these guys, look at this, you've got the 055 running the apron. Same for the 02. I think these guys now are realizing fuel is going to be an issue. They're down there trying to make sure that the fuel will be able to get to the intake so that way they'll have fuel pickup on these restarts. Are they coming to pit road or are they going to stay out? They don't want to give up the track position, surely, but they may not have any other choice.
I have returned, and yeah, you're absolutely right. This is I knew the more green-white checker we ran, the closer we were going to get on fuel. And man, and now we really do know that that those guys like Stafford, I don't know what happened to Stafford. Did he bring it down?
I think he did. I think he brought it to pit road. Wallenberg did the same.
It's like from 13th on back, everyone came down.
Stafford pitted, so did Schwallenberg, Sherman, Valerio. Some of these guys obviously were involved in the wrecks. Franklin Ash is still on the lead lap. He's going to restart in 14th. So the top 13, or I'm sorry, the top 12 have not been to pit road. Actually, there's a couple of other guys that have actually been on pit road recently, too. The 10 was on pit road on the last caution. The 32, I believe, may have come to pit road the same time that the 27 did. And Gabe Herschel also pitted on the last caution. So a couple of these guys are still good on fuel. And Carlos, you brought up on the last couple of restarts about drivers spinning their tires. We could have an issue with drivers not even having any fuel in the tank.
Yeah. You know, I didn't think it was going to come down to this, but I also want to point out another thing. We came on the air at about lap 20. Are these guys just trying to make up for the fact that we missed the first 20 laps and they want to give us more action to watch?
It could very well be. If we're looking in terms of fuel, right now you look at the top three. Kane Cook, Ryan Nowacki have been out for 30 laps. Tyler Claybaugh for 31. Jake Poulin there in fourth position. Yeah, he's saving fuel, but he has only been out there 14 laps. So he is obviously about 17, 18 laps better than the top three ahead of him. So right now, this race could be playing into his hands with how many laps we've run under caution in overtime.
Guys moving down to that inside line, riding the apron, hoping to it. I think we got the one to green signal.
So now the question is this. They're trying to save fuel now running on the apron. If we get another caution, they're probably, you have to think, going to have to come to pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the case. Yep, there they go, dipping back down to the apron. Lights are out on the pace car where you have the one to green.
Well, you want to talk about guys popping up late again? Take note. Look there at sixth on back. Alexander Russell. He's been in a couple of early cautions. He's up in sixth. Arnold Columbia up in seventh. Bailey Galinas in eighth. The 32 of Marcius Lazinski. We saw that he was somewhat off the pace, but coming to pit road just before he went back green, he's up in ninth. And Blake Reynolds continues to soldier on. He got a piece of that last incident. He's got no hood on the 29. He's still in that 10th position.
Well, your pick's still in it. Mine's not anymore. That was Philip Krause. I have a bad tendency of doing that. I'm looking at that Hardee's Toyota Supra. That is the 00 of Jake Poulin. He is gonna be a factor here, especially with those less amount of tires, those cleaner tires. This is gonna be a very exciting run to the finish here.
No doubt about it. And boy, you know as well as I do, if a driver ahead of you runs out of fuel, you better hope that he's going to duck out of line and get out of the way, because it's very difficult to have the reaction time to slow up for a driver that may be slowing rapidly in front of you, which could lead to yet another caution, another green-white checkered here. Will we this time make it back to the checkers?
Good start for both cars on the outside. Poulin trying to really push the 02. Same with the 42 trying to push Cook. Big push from Claybaugh to the 055.
You got Justice down there. He's got Alexander Russell. The both of them are good on fuel. Could they be working together to tandem?
That inside line's a little bit better. Now the 18 drops off a little bit. This is going to be very interesting coming to the backstretch.
Cook's going to clear for the lead for the moment. Pretty spread out mid-pack. We may be able to make it back to the white this time. Then again, maybe not. A couple of cars going down almost to the double yellow line. Look at Nowacki on the top side with help from Poulin. They're hooked up.
Double wide there behind them, the 31 and the 18. That's what you want to see if you're the front two. I think we may be able to make it to the white. They're very spread out. 055 in front. Here they come. We have got the white flag.
Now do these guys have the fuel to be able to make it? Talking about our top three. Poulin committed to Nowacki. Claybaugh down there with Cook. Who's it going to be at the line this time? Big run for Stafford and Schwallenberg. They are coming, and they're going to go 3 wide.
Way to the outside comes Stafford. This is going to be a very close run to the finish. Stafford being a big player here at the end. 3 wide coming to 3.
Stafford and Schwallenberg pitted on the last caution. They've got fresh tires. Yes, he is, and I believe Kane Cook may be slowing as well. Schwallenberg ducks down to help the 055. Stafford's got no help. It's going to be Cook and Norwalki coming off of 4.
Poulin goes outside.
3 wide to the line, 4 wide as Kane Cook is going to win here tonight at Daytona.
Wow.
Cars in the air, Schwallenberg airborne, Stafford airborne, but Kane Cook had enough fuel to make it to the checkers, and it all heck broke loose behind him.
They're going to credit Stafford with 3rd. I'm just still in shock with that incredible run he had on the final lap there, going around the outside of everybody with Schwallenberg.
And you saw a number of drivers running out of fuel in the closing stages. One of them was the 42 of Tyler Clayball, who crosses the line in the 23rd position. But Cook saved just enough. He may be out of fuel right now.
Yeah, I think he's going to need some help getting the victory lane. What a run for that guy, Kane Cook. I firmly believe he was the guy that led the most laps. He's going to get some help here from the 8. No, never mind.
No, O'Leary was going to help him, but now looks like Keith Sherman's going to do the honors to help. I mean, Kane Cook put on a show for the fans there on the final laps, but I don't think he's got enough in the tank to do a burnout show for them here.
Whoa. Shieldhouse coming through there hot. But we had to point out there at the end, the 42 ran out of gas on the back straightaway, just maybe about a mile short of being able to be up there at the end. I think he's going to finish outside the top 20. That's Tyler Clayball. Tough break for him, but the 055, does he have enough in the tank?
He might have maybe just been clutching there, having the 15 push him. Let's see, has he got enough in the tank to do it?
Nope.
Nah, doesn't look like it. Whoa, wait, there we go.
Yeah, you got a little bit of it. I think he's trying to bring it up to the stripe here.
Yeah, tiny little burnout.
Yeah, that was it.
But what a power move there at the end by Bronson Stafford and Dylan Schwallenberg, making that 3 wide move there, going into turns 1 and 2. Let's look at the results. Cook with the win. Schwallenberg brings it home in 2nd. Stafford in 3rd. Narwaki in 4th. Poulin in 5th. And, you know, with the exception of Kane Cook, all these other guys, well, actually Narwaki as well, all these other guys were good to go on fuel. Very impressive for Cook and Narwaki to save enough fuel, keep their track position for top 5 finishes.
Absolutely great runs for all those guys. And I'm still enamored by that run that Stafford and Schwallenberg got. Poulin gave it a fight there at the end. So did Naraki. Just an exciting finish, and that was well worth the wait.
No doubt about it. Let's look at the rest of the top 10 here. Alexander Russell brings it home in 6th. Derek Justice brings it home 7th after his early issues. Marcius Lazinski, that car had no front end. Somehow brings it home in 8th. Arnold Columbia, after some early issues, brings it home 9th. And in 10th is Noah Valerio. Look on down through the remainder of the results here. Gabe Herschel, Keith Sherman. I mean, all these guys had issues during the course of the night. Still kind of a silver line in the cloud, bringing home top 15. Bailey Galinas, Franklin Ash, who was up front early on. He's 14th. Kemp 15th. Then Schwartz, Milbachler, John Poole III, Blake Reynolds, and PJ O'Leary completed your top 20. And then you get down here, and these were drivers that were either so far off the pace, finishing on the tail end lead lap, or drivers that finished out of the race, most of them due to a number of those late cautions.
Tough break for a lot of those guys. It was just wasn't meant to be for them tonight. But hey, long season to go in the FTF Grand National Series. This was race 1 of 31 races. Got a lot of time to make up that ground, and I'm not quite sure where we're going to next week. But those guys that had tough breaks today, like Malillo, Hawkins, and Stewart, leaving the race early, they got time to bounce back.
Absolutely. I think, if I'm correct, I believe next week we're going to Rockingham. We're going to beg your indulgence for a brief moment. We have to swap TeamSpeaks over to be able to get driver interviews, so we will be right back in just a moment for your post-race interviews here from Daytona. All right, so we are standing by with our race winner, Kane Cook. And first off, Kane, first question, was there any worry about having fuel to be able to make it there to the checkers?
Oh yeah, I mean, I wasn't counting on having to do 5 or 6 green, white, checkered attempts. I thought, worst case scenario would take care of it in a couple. I uh I was trying to stack people so they'd be side by side on purpose because I didn't want anybody to be able to hang me out. And all that lifting in front of the field, I guess, paid off because I had 1/10 of a gallon of gas when I crossed the start finish line. I held the clutch in and someone pushed me around so I could do a burnout, and I rotated the rear end. Like I got one spin out of my Goodyear Eagle and we were out. So it could not have been any closer.
We saw that really the only other Mustang up there for you to work with, at least in the early portions, was the 27. After that, there were only Chevys and Toyotas up there, and for the most part, you were getting pushed by a Toyota. What was the feeling like of being pushed by the nose of a Toyota Supra? Was it difficult to hold it straight, or did they line it pretty well?
Oh, I was getting a little sideways here and there, but I mean, it just kind of depends on how the guy catches you. I mean, I know Knobloch got turned and he's doing a hell of a job, and he just kept getting hit and hit. And no matter what nose it is in the B car, I mean, you're pretty out of control of your own destiny. It's just the guy behind you dictates if you wreck or not.
If Carlos has any questions for you here.
It's not so much a question. I'm just so impressed with how you're able to keep it up front the whole time there. Kudos to you, man. That was a great run for you. What do you think it's going to be like for you going forward in the season?
I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, a lot less carnage. I mean, I like green flag racing. I like being able to make pit stops and all that. And Rockingham is a great track for me. I really like running it, but I have concerns about if we're going to be able to go green there because it's Thunder Alley down the backstretch for a reason, and we had enough explosions to.
No doubt about that. Kane Cook brings it home with the victory. We're going to turn the microphone over to you and let you do some shout outs here.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Cosman for sponsoring the series and everything, and he did a great job painting my Renegades Esports suit and helmet that I run in the Coke series. Great stand-up guy. I mean, easily one of the best painters in the game, if not the best. Always brings fresh, creative ideas. Just an all-around amazing guy. I thank everybody here for hosting this and giving us spot on Friday, Saturday night to get a whole lot of competition here and run races, and Justin Malillo for all the stuff he does for the Pro Series and Coke Series on iRacing and what he does with FTF. I mean, he's really like the beat reporter for esports racing, and I just can't say enough about it. What a good job he does and how much he means to everybody on the service.
Well, just enough fuel to make it to the end. You head into Rockingham as the first winner of the season for the FTF Grand National Series. Congrats.
Thank you. Long day from the LCQ.
No doubt about it. Let's bring in our second place finisher, Dylan Schwallenberg. And first off, Dylan, you restarted, I believe, back in the 13th or 14th position. How in the world did you work your way up to the front that quickly?
I'll correct you a little bit. It was 15th place. But yeah, we managed to bob and weave with Bronson, our third place finisher. I really couldn't get to his bumper because I had some sort of damage. I don't know why. And when I couldn't suck up to him, I went down to go push Kane to see if I could get a run coming out of turn 4, go through the middle and do something. That's why you saw me pull out there. But it was just too late. But I'm glad I could help someone get the win regardless. It's cool to even be able to wheel one of these things. I love these Xfinity bodies and the package that comes with it. So, yeah, it's just really fun to wheel that thing out there today.
Yeah, I want to go to around the midway point of the race. You were working with a couple of others trying to get the outside line going, but it just kind of seemed like the inside and outside line stalled each other. Was that the case, or was it just the outside line couldn't get formed up?
I think the main thing was that the none of the lanes could get a run on each other. It was incredibly weird to say the least, but we worked with it, managed to pass a few cars. I mean, the outside line obviously didn't work too well, but we tried the best we could, and yeah, did the most we could with what we were given. So,
Carlos?
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how clean you kept that car for the longest time. You were around some wrecks ahead of them a lot of the time. I mean, what was that like out there, just to be able to be one of the few clean cars still out there? And then, of course, the question of fuel there towards the end. I mean, you were okay, but it was getting pretty dicey there at the end. It was
Until that pit stop, I was not okay on gas, because basically was sputtering on the back stretch before we had that caution, so it was just, yeah, it wasn't good. But to answer your question about keeping it clean, you know, that's just, I really don't like getting dirty at these plate tracks. I like to normally be a little bit conservative, but also stay at the front. So, that strategy I knew was going to work. I knew we were going to come out clean and to be ahead of some of these wrecks with how I could place the car at certain points. We were in one of the wrecks, but we drifted right through it, so that was cool. Felt like Kyle Busch in the 2012 shootout. But yeah, man, it was intense. It was very hard to keep it clean, as you could see from all the cars behind me.
Absolutely. I mean, you kept your car up front pretty much all night long. It was just having to make that pit stop put you back, but you worked your way back up to second. We're going to turn the microphone over to you, and we're going to let you do some shout outs after your second place run tonight.
I really have too many people to shout out besides Justin Malillo and the whole FTF team for putting this event on. I know it was a little bit of a struggle to probably keep their heads on straight the whole night, but they did what they could. And I applaud the admin team for, always trying their best and doing what they can with this league. It's a great place to be. Don't let the amount of cautions fool you. A lot of these guys are really fast. It's just the first race. It's going to happen. So, yeah, shout out to the FTF guys. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. Well, Dylan Schwalmberg, congrats on your second place run, and hopefully you can carry this momentum into Rockingham next week.
Yep. Thank you.
And finally, let's bring in third place finisher Bronson Stafford. And Bronson, we didn't really see you up at the front in the midway point. You're up there early and then you kind of faded back. So a lot of those wrecks that took place, you had to kind of weasel your way through. And your car looked relatively clean at the end. So I don't think you got a whole lot of damage from those. So talk about getting through some of those wrecks, including two of those big ones.
Yeah, kind of had the strategy from the get-go just based off of where we were starting around 13th or so. After running the duel, kind of figured that the cars are a little bit on edge, kind of just trying to avoid wrecking the car up. It was a long race, 80 laps, so kind of tested the waters, dropped back, and then yeah, there was a couple of big wrecks we had to avoid through. Got through all of them without damage up until I think just before the green-white checkered, there was or maybe right after the first one, there was a caution right after the trial when we restarted, and a guy just turned left a little bit. I got that whole race 16 seconds of damage over the right front fender until after the finish of the race. So, just kind of honestly a lot of luck involved with some of the guys in the back of the field. There was a couple times the big ones happened, and a guy from 3-4 seconds back came flying in, no brakes, kind of thing. So it was just a little bit of luck to not be the one in his path, but really had some good guys around us back there that were able to slow down in time for the wreck and keep us all clean. So we were able to get through and get the top 3 out of it.
Talk about that last lap. We were talking with Schallenberg, how he and you hooked up there down the back straightaway and made that move there up top 3 wide. Was that the only option open to you, or if you could have gone back and made a different move, would you have done it?
It's always hard to say until you go back and watch it. I restarted 13th, he restarted 15th. We got going, I pushed the 05, and then down the back straightaway on 2 to go, there was just all the damaged cars were side by side, so we just went to the top and went around them, and then just drafted up to the top 4, the top 6, got past 4th and 5th, entering 1, and I maybe probably should have just stayed low off of turn 2 instead of going up to the 3rd lane. I think pushing the 055 of Kane Cook, I think we could have maybe had a better shot at the win from there, but I thought maybe Schwallenberg was going to be able to get to my bumper and we'd just kind of stick it out and go around the top off of 4. I think we probably could have won either that way, but ultimately, I mean, you're trying to race for your best position, so I don't blame him at all for going low, and I fell back at the convenient enough time where I was able to get back on the low line off of 4 and still get 3rd out of it when I was sitting around 5th, so.
Bronson, I don't really have any questions. Seth nailed it down, but I was just so impressed with that run. You came out of nowhere with Dylan right there at the end, having to restart 13th and 15th respectively. I'm just impressed with how well you did there. Just take me through that entire race. Yeah, 80 laps plus about another 20. Just take me through it. What was the high? What was it just like out there? Just with everyone wrecking towards the middle portion, and at the end, of course, I think we did 6 green white checkers. Just what was it like for you personally?
It's always a split sword. It was really, really fun. We started the race off really well. We had green flag pit stops. We came up really good from those. We were working with Kyle Riley, I think Jake Poole or John Poole, one of them back there, and we just I think it was John Poole. Yeah, we were sticking together. We were pretty much just testing drafts out, stuff like that. Then yeah, the cautions kind of started. Every time I'd start building a run, it would seem a caution would come out, and then the line would die. And there was one time Mike Fallon and I had a really good run, and we were about to go with it. Caution came out, so it gets a little frustrating. It's really hard to make up spots when there's only about 2 laps to go in a green white checkered. So it was always frustrating because I was sitting like 32nd one time with like after the second one, and I was like, this sucks. Like I'm stuck in 32nd, and I have nowhere to go. And then they wrecked going into turn 3, and I was on the top of the track and just slowed down and got up to like 12th. And then came in for fuel. And people were running out, and it's so unpredictable. Like I considered myself out, and I was gonna be happy with maybe like a top 15 if they wrecked on the white flag. So finishing third after that kind of race is a really, really strong suit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Anytime you can leave Daytona, even if it's not a win, if you can finish top 5, a lot of people consider that like a win at a super speedway. We're going to turn the microphone over to you, let you do some shout outs after your third place run here tonight.
Yeah, for sure. We always got to shout out the Sky Motorsports team. Unfortunately, I was the only driver from the team to make it into the actual Daytona race. We're hoping for some better luck next week at Rockingham, but they're not being duels. It's very much your own individual pace. So I believe Shane should probably qualify in. If he doesn't, I'll be very surprised. Um, we had Home Depot in the car, Cineplex, GoPro, Evo controllers, all them we've had on the car for years now, and big thanks to Matt Muir, who does a fantastic job painting all these cars up. And, big thanks to Kyle Riley and all the other admins for throwing on FTF. It's a huge step to go from NR to iRacing, and let alone handle a 40 car plus field for the first race. So, overall, just a really, really good show.
All right, that's Bronson Stafford, brings it home third. Hopes for a good run next week at Rockingham, and maybe a teammate or two. Good job, bud. All right, so that's going to do it for our coverage here this evening from the Mark Got Loose 200 presented by Splash and Go at the Daytona International Speedway. Carlos, your final thoughts here.
It was just for us having to come in like late into it, about 20 laps in. That was a well worth getting everything right. Such an exciting race. Yeah, we had a lot of wrecks. I believe about 6 attempts at that green white checkered to get this thing done, or maybe 5. I was very impressed with how it run. Great job for Kane Cook and all those guys that were able to just tough it out and finish there at the end. I'm excited to see what will happen next week at Rockingham. A big shift from a 2.5 mile course to a track that's, I believe, just under a mile, from super speedway to short track. Let's see how these guys adjust as we'll enter in as this season just got started here in FTF Grand National.
Yeah, and I think a thing too, a lot of people look at this and say, well, it was caution filled. But let's bear in mind the first 3 cautions, a lot of it was due to either like some net code, a little bit of bumper grab, stuff like that. That's stuff that's out of your control. We're at Daytona. The big one's going to strike sooner or later. That was our 4th caution. And then you get down there to the end of the race for the green white checkers. Everybody's going to be on go. Nobody's going to be lifting. You got to expect that you're going to have quite a number of cautions there with unlimited green white checkers. So, for all those out there that are saying there was too much pacing, this is what Daytona is like. Everybody's on a level playing field. Everybody's got a shot at the win, and they're going to go for it. Daytona is an open opportunity to be able to get yourself the season started off with a victory. You're going to be heading to more difficult tracks in the future. Why not go out there if you've got this chance, make the move, try and take a checkered flag to start out the season? So, to all those people out there that say there were too many pacing, I say this is typical Daytona.
Absolutely, typical Daytona on any level to have it like that. Whether it be iRacing, trucks, Xfinity, Cup, they get going in just about 13 hours from now in the big one, the Daytona 500. I expect to see a lot of the same stuff in the real NASCAR and that we saw tonight in this iRacing race. I was just impressed with how long Kane Cook kept it up front, and let's see if we can replicate that next week at Rockingham.
Absolutely. I mean, will we see some of the same people up at the front, or will those mile and a half guys, those speedway guys, rise to the top next week? We'll have to wait and see. FRN has your coverage next week. Next Saturday night, we're going to be bringing you the FTF Grand National Series presented by Splash and Go, second race of the season at Rockingham or North Carolina Speedway, whichever you want to call it. But for here tonight at Daytona, for Carlos Zimmerman, I've been Seth Cole. Good evening, everybody. Good morning to some of you on the East Coast. This ends the coverage here on the Flatout Racing Network.